This is Vocabulary Mastery on page 153 in your ThinkUp book. So at the top of this, it has a vocabulary bank of words. And what I've already done, and I would highly recommend that you do this, is just flip to the back of the book. These definitions are so easy to find in the glossary. But I just sketched out a picture of area. There's nothing wrong with even just, looking at what I've done. Area means you're finding the length times the width, the space that it covers inside of an object, the number of square units needed to cover a surface without gaps or overlaps. So if this was your closet floor and you wanted to cover it with, some pretty carpeting or carpet, you could do that by finding the length and the width, and that would give you this inside part. So this would be your area, like a rug, like a magic carpet. Okay. Denominator is the number that is the bottom part, or the bottom number in a fraction. It's the total number of equal parts. An example would be, there's 3 parts and we're discussing or talking about one of those 3 parts, or 1/3 of it. Dimension, we've heard of these words when we were talking about volume. Volume has 3 dimensions because it has 3 measures. It has a length, width, and a height, but 1 dimension is the measure of a shape in one direction. So, I guess you could just sketch up at the top if you wanted. You've got 1 dimension could be your length. Another dimension could be the measure of this way, and that's your width. And then if you had maybe a cube or something like this number cube, then you would add the height to it, how high it is. Remember, you would do the base, what it sits on, your length and your width, and then your height. So that's dimension. And then equivalent means the same amount, the same as. Estimate, or an estimate, is to guess about, to make an estimate, or estimate the value of something, to guess it. And we're going to talk about why estimating something is a value when we're doing fractions especially. Factor times a factor equals a product. Example, 2 times 3. 2 and 3 are both factors. The product is what? The product is the answer, which leads us to this one, the answer to a multiplication problem. So these two are kind of linked together. Okay, a fraction is a part of a whole or a group. A fraction is part of a whole or a group of something. So you could have a whole pizza and it's 1/3 of it. You could have 5 different little blocks and you're talking about 2 of those 5 blocks. And we have a mixed number. A mixed number is a whole number with a fraction. This would be like 2 whole pizzas and then 1/3 of another. Again, numerator is the number at the top, as the number that we're talking about. And the definition for numerator states the top number in a fraction, how many equal parts are being considered. So the numerator says what is being considered out of how many total parts. All right, and then it has this tic-tac-toe game with your partner. This is totally up to you if you're at the house and you want to try to do this. You can get somebody to be your partner, or you could pretend like you're just playing against yourself for this. It works just like a regular tic-tac-toe game. Your partner defines, and then they give an example of the vocabulary term on the game board. If the response is correct, the student is allowed to put an X on the space. If the response is incorrect, no X is placed. But then the other partner defines or gives an example of a different term and places an O on the space if the response is correct. So partners, they alternate turns. The first student to connect 3 spaces vertically, horizontally, or diagonally wins. All right, this last one says, it has a question. It says, how could you prove that the product of a number and a fraction equals to 1? It is equivalent. Okay, let's read that again. How could you prove that the product of a number and a fraction equal to 1, fraction equal to 1, is equivalent to the original number. Now, this is what I have done. This is a fraction that is equal to 1 whole because you're dealing with all of it. So you're saying all of 5. And there's an example right there. What new vocabulary term did you learn today? Well, I think this word would be probably one of the newer ones, dimension. And you know that when you're dealing with a 1 dimension, you're dealing with something like a piece of string, or like on one of this mask that I have on my desk, this will be 1 dimension, the string part would be. Your 2 dimension would be where you would take a sheet of paper, like this Post-it note, 2 dimensions, you'd have a length and a width. And then, like I was showing you just a second ago, something like a cube, and that would be, this will be 3 dimensions because it has a length, a width, which is, you know, your base face, remember, it can sit on, or it can be your length and your width, but then it also has a height that it stands up like the legs of a table. All right, nice.